students, कैसे हैं आप सब? I hope all is going well. So students, today we will go through the summary of one of the interesting lesson from the 10th class English book, Footprints Without Feet. Name of the lesson is A Triumph of Surgery, written by James Herriot. First, we discuss about the title of the story, that is A Triumph of Surgery. Here, triumph means victory and surgery means a place where a doctor works, or you can say an operation to cure an ailment. But in this lesson, surgery means a place where a doctor works. I think the very first we should know about the author of any story, because we must know about the great personalities of the literary world in the form of poets, writers and novelists. So, let's start from the author's name. The real name of the author of this story is James Alfred White, but he is not known by this name. As a writer, his pen name was James Herriot. He was a British vet surgeon, means he was a doctor of animals. He was born on 3rd October 1926 and died on 23rd February 1995. He has written many stories about animals, and the stories have been written taking his own experiences. He has written many books on stories about animals and their masters. Today's story is also one of his own experiences. Now, let's see the introduction to the lesson. This story is about a dog named Tricky. He was an over-pampered pet of a rich lady named Mrs. Pumphrey. She loved him very much and was unable to refuse him anything he wanted. As he was fond of eating cream cakes and chocolates, she never refused him anything to eat. One day, when Mrs. Pumphrey was out for a walk with her dog, Dr. James Herriot saw them and talked about Tricky. Seeing Tricky, he realized that she overfed him and he shouldn't eat much, due to which he had started looking like a blotted sausage. Soon Tricky fell ill and Mrs. Pumphrey called Dr. Herriot for help. Mr. Herriot suggested her to send Tricky to his hospital. She didn't want to send him away, but there was no other alternate than to send him to hospital. After that, what happened to Tricky? How did Dr. Herriot treat him? Let's go through the summary of the lesson to know more about it. So students, now be attentive and listen it carefully, as I am going to tell you the summary of the lesson. Firstly, let's talk about the main characters of the story. The first character is James Herriot, a vet surgeon who suggests Mrs. Pumphrey to give a natural environment to Tricky. Second character is Mrs. Pumphrey, a rich lady, mistress of Tricky, pampers him very much. Now, the third character, Tricky, a dog, fat and lazy, greedy to eat food. Now, the summary starts. One day, when Mrs. Pumphrey, a rich lady, went out with her dog for a walk, a nearby vet doctor, Mr. James Herriot, who knew the lady, saw the dog and was shocked to see the condition of Tricky. The dog looked like a blotted sausage with a leg at each end. He advised her to stop giving him unhealthy things to eat, but she was not able to refuse him because she loved and pampered him too much. Also, between meals, she gave him some malt, cod liver oil and a bowl of Horlicks at night, which made him sleep. Means Tricky had an affluent, luxurious life, having everything. Tricky used to live a rich life. Because of his eating habits, Tricky fell ill. He started vomiting. He didn't eat anything, didn't want to go out or do anything. The Dr. Herriot was called. Dr. Herriot advised her to send Tricky to his hospital, as he would have to give a surgery to him. Hearing this, she became sad and disappointed. Mr. Harriet somehow took the dog to the hospital even though he knew that Mrs. Pumphrey was not ready to leave her dog and started crying. She was almost fainted. In the hospital, he put a bed for him. Tricky could not even wag his tail or kick with his legs. His eyes also had become dull and he lay down motionless on the carpet. The other dogs at the surgery ignored him, considering him as an uninteresting object. The doctor gave him plenty of water, which made him a bit energetic after 2 days. The dog did not move much nor eat anything for the first 2 days, but on the third day he was taken out and he enjoyed the company of other dogs. He also started eating properly. The doctor did not give him any medical treatment but changed his routine and eating habits. Now he remained happy with other dogs and came out of danger. When this news reached Mrs. Pumphrey, she started sending him eggs as she thought that Tricky was recovering from the illness and needed energetic food. Moreover, she started sending bottles of wine and brandy to improve Tricky's condition. Mrs. Pumphrey inquired about her dog on phone many times a day. Dr. Harriet wanted to keep Tricky as his permanent guest, but he could not because Mrs. Pumphrey was suffering from the pangs of separation. Finally, the doctor informed her that Tricky had recovered and she could come to collect him. In just 2 weeks, Tricky had been transformed into a flexible, hard-muscled animal. When Mrs. Pumphrey reached the surgery by her car to collect him, the doctor brought Tricky in his arms. When Tricky saw his mistress, he leapt and sailed into her lap. He was really happy to see his mistress. He started licking her face. Tears were shining in her eyes. She thanked the doctor with trembling lips. She said, "This is just a triumph of surgery." That's all about it. You can revise the lesson in a short time. If you have any query regarding this, you can send your queries through the comment box. So guys, if you really like my video, please don't forget to share it with your near and dear ones.